The Meek Brown Talk Show. Everyday boldness. Everyday brains. Everyday beauty. Your Everyday Woman Show. Here to entertain and inform. She's Meek Brown.
Welcome back to today's segment of the Meek Brown Show. We are continuously talking about leaders in our community. Today we have with us Peggy Hemphill and husband Mario Hemphill, and they will be discussing their conference that's coming up in Atlanta that we are excited to hear about. Peggy, thank you for being on the Meek Brown Show. How are you today?
Wonderful. Thanks for having us.
Good. Mario?
Great.
You know, behind every good woman, there is a good man. You do know that, right?
Definitely.
Okay. I just want everybody to know that. Peggy, tell me, I want to know about the conference that you have coming up in Atlanta. When is it?
The conference is Sunday, November the 12th, and it's going to be in Atlanta or outskirts, Douglasville, Georgia. Okay. And it's going to be at Tuscany Hills Event Space. Okay. It's located at 5282 Tuscany Drive in Douglasville, Georgia.
And this is the 4th annual conference?
It's the 4th annual conference.
Okay, well then let's take it back a little bit. How and whom started this conference with you?
Actually, the conference started last year, and it started with Alicia Small and I. We had a discussion about different ideas. We would always have like a mastermind meeting between the two of us, and we this event kind of was stirring up in me, and I talked to her about it. She says, well, let's go ahead and birth this vision.
Well, now, hold on. I'm sorry. Now, so it started last year or a couple years ago?
It started last year. So we did almost 3. It was 3 in 1 year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we did one on a smaller scale. So it was supposed to be 15 women. Ended up being 30 because everybody brought a friend. Okay. And it was a smaller, intimate event. From there, we got really positive feedback and just stating how everything was really uplifting. They felt like burdens and heaviness was lifted off of them, and they felt that it would be good to do it on a larger scale. Okay. So we went back at it and kind of tweaked a few things, and we went back at it and had another one in Columbia, South Carolina, on a larger scale at Lake Carolina. Okay. Huge success. We had over 20 vendors, and we had over 50 attendees. So it was a really nice event. Okay. And so now, prior to becoming a business owner, what's your experience previously? What have you been doing? Previous to being a business owner, I worked in IT for 10.5 years. And I was an outsourced IT rep for credit unions. Okay. We moved from Detroit, Michigan, here 3 years ago. Is that where you're originally from? Originally from Detroit, Michigan, yes. So we moved here about 3 years ago. And I worked for the company in Michigan for 2.5 years from home. Okay. And then decided to go into full-time entrepreneurship. Now, how did you cross over from corporate to becoming an entrepreneur? It was a little bit of a strain, simply because you're used to consistent money, and you're used to it coming in weekly or however it comes, and you have to shift into survival mode, and just adjusting things accordingly. But it's working fine. Okay, now you two in business together, is that correct? Yes. Tell us a little bit about that. Our business that we run together is Perfectly Blessed LLC, and what we do is provide romantic setups. Okay. So we could create an ambiance for you at your home or hotel room, or we'll meet you at the beach. And that's for birthday parties, just any type of setting that... Yes, and we even have singles packages. It's called All About Me Singles Package. Okay. Because every time we pass out a card, they say, hey, does this come with a man? And it's so funny. But we do offer singles packages because we do believe in you have to pamper and treat yourself as well. Correct. Now, do you do events for kids as well? We haven't yet. Okay. But... good idea. Hey, yeah. Never know what's coming up. See, I'm worth something. Yes. Okay, so let's get back to the conference. Now, why did you feel the need for this conference? Our slogan is release, revive, and renew. And the release portion of it is really the heavy part, because we write down things we want to get rid of, whether it be debt, a bad relationship. I mean, just those things that are weighing heavy on us that we do not need to be carrying around. Okay. So to in an attempt to release that load, we write items down, and we put it in a brown paper bag. So that's where the bag came from. And then we burn it. And it symbolizes that we're getting rid of those unwanted items, and to leave that behind, and we're going to move forward and step into our greater. That is really good. That there's a event I went to once in Atlanta, Masquerading the Runway. And it was for women who had been domestically abused,
Life just hadn't been great for them, and they would walk the runway, and it was of all ages, but they would wear a mask, and then the mask come off because they're getting rid of all the crap, you know, because you have to get some kind of therapy. You know, I'm not always saying you have to go to counseling, but like, you know, Shad said earlier, whether it's a spiritual partner, you know, a mentor, a coach, you have to have somebody else to be able to vent to, and that person does not need to be like a best friend or anything. It needs to be someone who, you know, they're going to give you the correct answers. They're going to, you know, whether they hurt your feelings or not, you may need to know some things. It's kind of like a reevaluation of yourself. So do you find that women who come to your conference, they get a relief? And how are you knowing that? Do you do any evaluation? How are you getting your feedback?
Definitely. We also offer comment cards, so we get feedback right away of what they're feeling and what they experienced. And most of the comment cards, exactly, you know, from the first one that we ever did, that was more smaller, intimate. The cards were saying, "Oh man, I feel a huge sense of relief. I feel like a burden has been lifted. I feel like I'm free." You know, it was just a lot of good comments stating like they felt a change. And then later on, people came back to say, you know, that event was really life-changing for me because it opened up some doors. I was able to leave some things behind. That's your rewards, right? Definitely. And to hear that, it's like, okay, mission accomplished. And you get to be in a room with other people that have things they want to get rid of as well. So you know you're not alone.
That's good. And I strongly believe a lot of people think going into the business, oh, I'm going to make a bunch of money. That's their goal. Well, I'm finding out now if that's only your thought process, you're probably not going to make much money because your heart is not where it needs to be. But when you're actually in it to service people and help people, and you're compassionate about what you're doing, and when I say you're getting the rewards, I mean the fact that you are helping women, you know, get over obstacles. When I help, you know, my little girls and little boys, you know, pull up them droopy pants, my reward is when I see them on that runway and their parents see them in a completely different light. You're like, wow, is that my child? You know, is that my daughter? You know, so it's an entire different look on something they never would have thought of. And that's sad to say that when that's their child, but I mean, it is what it is. The results. That's what we're dealing with. Right. Now, Mario, let me get to you for a little bit. Now, you know, now that you guys are in business together, and I understand that you're partly the mastermind of a lot of things that Peggy do, how and what do you see when it comes to her helping women, and how do you benefit from that? What does that do for you, seeing her in action and the fact that you're behind a lot of the great things that are going on?
Well, my mom, she's very strong in ministry as well, like far as she speak to a lot of people on a lot of ministry and pray, and Peg, she just give an inspiration to me to see that. So everything she do, I'm supporting her. I'm loving on her. I'm loving what she's doing. I love the way how she support women. Just, you know, is a great thing as well. You know, it's great.
Okay, and then what is your role within this business? Because I want women to know that, although I talk a lot about women entrepreneurship and women empowerment, that sometimes they don't know who the support system is. So I think this is very good. Because she has a great support system, obviously. But do you enjoy being a part of, like, for instance, the conference?
Yes, I do.
Why is that?
A lot of, because it just makes me feel great. Like, the king, you know, it just makes, she's a queen and I'm a king.
She's smiling, she's smiling.
It just makes it more better for what we have to give out to other people as well. I just feel just great on what she's doing, and the support is there.
Now, do you also give her some ideas on how sometimes it can be better, or are you one of her strongest critics? Because sometimes we need that.
Yeah, actually, like the
hold on, Mario. Peggy's making some faces here now. Peggy, what's up with the faces? Is he hard on you?
He's my biggest critic, and he may not think so, but his opinion matters.
It does.
And just what he gives me back as far as criticism or, you know, giving me kudos, it matters, you know, so he may not know, but I adjust accordingly.
And I like that, because if we hear nothing but good things, we're never going to grow.
It's not all
so
good.
We need someone to come in and say, you know, I think maybe you should do this a little differently or better. Now, sometimes I notice that women don't take too fond of criticism, but when it's constructive criticism, you can only grow.
Yes, necessary.
You know, so Mario, you're doing really good here.
Thank you.
I like that. You need to come on my team. Okay, so this conference will be yearly. You're going to continue to do this yearly?
Well, the thing is, I prayed about it, and what I received back was to take the event on tour. So we're probably going to repeat a couple places, but we have scheduled for 2018. We're going to go to Detroit, back home.
Okay.
And we're going to also go to Chicago. And we have people have reached out to bring it to Miami.
Oh, wow.
So we have that on the books. We're going to work out dates and make sure we feed that back to you guys. But we're going to repeat some areas, some states, but we're going to take it around. And I kind of wondered, I'm like, well, I don't know where to take it. I don't know where to go. But it's definitely coming through. A lot of people are reaching back through Facebook and my inbox saying, hey, bring it here. We need it. And what they see is that, they see the pictures, they see the feedback, they see videos from people just stating how it's changed their lives. Yeah, a lot of testimonies, and it's positive. That's
really good. Do you consider, well, let me ask you this. As far as speakers coming on board with you, do you reach out to them? And I'm asking that because we may have women watching right now like, man, how can I be a part of that? Yeah. Do they contact you if they're interested in being a speaker? How do you go about getting your speakers?
That's a really good question because a lot of people have been reaching out. Normally what I do is post on Facebook and I'll say, have an upcoming conference looking for speakers, sponsors, and vendors. Okay. And then people respond. And then they'll say, hey, I want to be a speaker. I want to, do this, that. And I have, the last time for Atlanta, I had an overwhelming response. So I kind of sifted through, prayed about it, and then I made my selection. So I reach out to them. Everyone that's on the speaker lineup has not reached out to me. However, I reached out to them because I felt in my spirit that they need to be there. And we have some phenomenal speakers.
Yes, I saw the lineup.
I am so excited about the speakers that were chosen, and I know. Awesome, I know they're going to bring the fire.
What are some topics that will be discussed during the conference? Our topic
across the board is emerging from the fire.
Okay.
And when you emerge from the fire, you go through some things, and it's hot in there. But I say pressure and heat creates diamonds.
Right.
So we have to, go through.
Did you bring me a diamond today?
I can bring you one back.
Okay, go ahead.
No problem.
Cool, go ahead. No problem.
So when we go through, we have to go through some things, and it's hot. Like I said, it's hot in there, and the heat is but it changes. Right. It changes you. When you come out, it's like, oh, I'm better.
The strong shall survive.
And it's like some things fall off of you as you're coming through. But God always makes a way for you to come out clean. Pure as gold. That's good. Our theme is going to be white because we want to be pure. Okay. So everybody's going to be dressed in white and with gold accessories because that's part of the gold.
That's good. Did you come up with that or did Mario come up with that?
Mario. We'll give it to Mario.
Okay. Mario, you're doing good. You're doing good, Mario. Okay, that's good. So now you guys will go down on Saturday, but the event is on Sunday.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct. From 3 to 7.
Definitely.
Okay. Now, why did you move from Detroit to South Carolina?
Oh, wow.
What was the spark in that?
I'm going to not try to get teary-eyed, but we actually, my husband and myself, and then we have a son. Okay. We came down in 2014 for a visit to Myrtle Beach. And when I tell the story, everybody's like, what? So we came down for a visit to Myrtle Beach, and we kind of checked out the Columbia area, and we fell in love with the weather. Okay. And also the people. The Southern hospitality is not just a cliche. Right. It really is a difference from being from up north. And so when we came to visit, we were at Myrtle Beach after we toured the Columbia area, and our son said, you guys may have to come back and get me. And he was a junior going into a senior year of high school. Yeah. And I said, well, who wants to leave their senior year? He says, I love it here. Oh, wow. And then my husband said, I like it here too. And I said, just like that? And they're like, yeah. I said, okay, well, don't say it because I'm going to make it happen. Right. And we went back in April, and I started selling things. We sold everything down to our microwave, and we came back with clothes.
Peggy made it happen. You made it happen.
We came back with clothes only in August of 2014. So between April and August, we moved everything that we know from where we were born and raised and came to South Carolina.
See, sometimes when you know, you just have to go. You just have to go with the flow.
You have to. It was something about it. And everybody says, why did you pick Columbia? Right. And I said, somebody here needed me.
Well, and I have friends, we won't call any names, but I do have friends that I even try to encourage because we all have to encourage each other. Yes. But I have friends and I look out and I'm thinking, do you want to maybe try something else or do something? And the responses I get, well, I have 2 and 3 kids. And my thing is, now those kids are going to eventually grow. So you can't keep using that same excuse over and over. You got to come out the box. To me, I don't think of a lot of people say come out the box. I don't like a box.
There is no box.
There is no box. Just get rid of the box, and then you can open your mind up to new things. Because again, I see the things that they would like to do and things we've talked about years ago, and I'm thinking, now you can't go in thinking that it's going to be successful as soon as you try it. You're going to have some failure. Yeah. But now if you let that failure stop you, that's when I have a problem. You got to find a way, you know. And so I try to give that advice to my group called Po No Mo. And a lot of people don't realize Po No Mo, some people say Panomo, but it's Po No Mo, and it just means for women, I need you to stop thinking so negatively. You know, whether, like you mentioned, debt, credit, whatever the case may be. I think you're not a great parent. You know, if you don't think you're a great parent, let's do something about it. Let's talk about it. So Po No Mo is reaching out to women to, and I don't care if you're married, single, stay-at-home mom, whatever. You can be the best at what you're doing. If you want to be a stay-at-home mom, then darn it, be the best stay-at-home mom there is. Absolutely. That's right. So what you're doing, you're continuing to get women involved, because I've looked at some things you've done in the past, and it's phenomenal. It's definitely phenomenal. And so women who are watching this segment, and what they're going to hear with Mr. Shad, once again, I can't iterate enough, you have to have some type of coach, mentor, accountability partner that will hold you accountable. Shouldn't you be doing this today? Where's your pen and pad? Because a lot of people say, well, I don't have a business plan. Okay, well, you may not have a business plan, but write your vision down. You gotta write something down, because if it's not on paper,
it doesn't exist.
It kind of doesn't exist. You can have it up here all day long. So you started with a plan. You knew you wanted to help women. You had accountability partner like Alicia Smalls, and you guys brung that baby together. You nurtured it. It's not going to happen overnight, but you got to bake it and put some seasoning on it. Fine tune it, and it's going to come out like a beautiful cake, right?
Definitely.
Right. Definitely. Peggy, thank you so much for being on the Meek Brown Show.
Thank you for having us, Meek.
I would like to get feedback on the show. From Atlanta, so we're going to need you to come back and talk about it and all that good stuff. Mario, thank you for being her support system. I think that's very important, but also it's great to have a support system from the male perspective and the woman perspective. That's phenomenal. We want to thank Mr. Shad for being on the show as well, and he gave some great business nuggets that ladies, gentlemen, we all can learn from. Yes. If you have any questions with any of our guests on the Meek Brown Show today, they've already given you their information. But Peggy, can you give them your information again, including your phone number and all that good stuff, please?
Peggy Hemphill, phone number is 803-563-8871. And again, the event is the Bag Burning Experience. You can purchase tickets on Eventbrite. If you have any questions, feel free to give us a call. And we have hotel accommodations for the event as well.
Well, that is awesome, Peggy. Coming up next on the Meek Brown Show, we have Ron Harvey and special guest James Shad on the many faces of leadership. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Meek Brown Show and another segment of the many faces of leadership. And today I have Mr. James Shad with us, where we're going to talk about leadership and the many different things that are happening. Welcome, Mr. Shad. It's a pleasure to have you here this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So we're doing a segment here, and so what we're doing with the many faces of leadership is we're bringing leaders throughout our community on to speak briefly about their vision and their view of leadership. And so I would like to start with our first question is, who's made a significant impact in your life in leadership? What was it, and what impact did it make in your life?
Well, I would have to say it would start with my mom. She was, for the better part of my younger years, a single parent. She raised my brother and myself, and she, because of transitioning in terms of marriage and divorce, she ended up having to go back to school. She started college at about 26 years old, which is non-traditional. Most people will go and start out, at 17 or 18, but her life was put on hold because of family. But she was determined to go to the University of South Carolina. She earned a degree. She was already in insurance, and so she decided to become an entrepreneur. So she started the Shad Insurance Agency, and she brought me under her wing during my high school years. I ended up working with her. I learned about being an entrepreneur, being a leader. She showed me about the spirit of volunteerism. So she worked with the Big Brothers and Big Sisters. She worked at the chamber. She exposed my brother and I to many different facets of being a leader. even if when it came down to just etiquette and using the right fork and the right knife and looking people in the eye and showing respect to others and having good manners, those are qualities that I've used in my life as well. And so she ended up growing it so much that I guess she became a threat. And so a larger company ended up purchasing her company, which is kind of what you want sometimes as a leader to grow your business to the point where, you know, someone else thinks enough of it to try to bring it in-house. And she ended up working with them for a while. She's done an extremely good job of raising my brother and myself. She ended up remarrying and having 2 other children. Of course, while also being a great businesswoman, she's a great Christian and also took care of the house. She took those roles on very well. And so those are some of the qualities that I try to use each and every day that I lead.
Yeah, and I have to say you're doing a pretty good job because you're serving on school board.
Yes.
And that's been a great success for you. But you've also you're doing this thing now that we're doing in our community that you've launched is the Villagers. How much of what she taught you from a leadership perspective has allowed you to make this a successful program where you're doing the Villagers?
Well, she always taught us about having a sense of purpose and not looking within, but always looking without, always to make sure that you're looking out for your community, looking out for your fellow man. The Bible says, you know, in part that we are supposed to be our brother's keeper. You know, that was a question that was asked by Cain, but really the answer was already there. Yes, we are our brother's keeper. And so we always need to make sure that we look out for our fellow man. And that's something that's been near and dear to me for now, but now it's just coming into fruition in that we must look out for everyone. You know, the African proverb says that it takes a village to raise a child. Well, I want to go beyond that. We should always look out not only for our children, but also for our fellow man, for our peers, and for people who are older than us. We need to always go back to looking out for our seniors, go out and look out for our peers, because we are still developing. Even though we may be chronologically older, we still have challenges that another man or another sister can be able to assist. And so we've created this village mentality, and in part and parcel is mentorship. We want to make sure that we pour into a young person, pour into someone who still needs, you know, a little bit of development and growth, even if they are the same age as us or may have been in business even longer than us. I want to create a system where we have mentors that are above and we have mentors that are below, because it's all about as we lift, we also pull up.
It sounds like you're being very intentional about reaching, you know, for people that you need to help mentor, but you're also reaching down to people that need to help mentor you. Well, what is and there are a lot of characteristics out there, but when you look at leadership, and you look at the many things that you're doing throughout the community and doing a really, really good job of that, what is the one characteristic, if you would use one, that you think all leaders need to have?
I would say consistency, Ron. You know, you always want to make sure that who you are in church is the same as who you are out in the field. Who you are in the business world, in the office, is the same as where you are, you know, at a social gathering. You always want people to always say, you know, about this person, however I see him, whichever circles he's in or she's in, they're always consistent. And especially when it comes to business, always making sure that, you know, that you have integrity, that you're upfront with folks, even if it might end up hurting your business. One thing that folks can always say is that you're very consistent at what you do, and they'll see that commitment and those other qualities come out as long as you remain who you are from the beginning as well as to the end. Yeah,
and that's one thing that's super important. I mean, I did a workshop here recently, and one of the things I talked about is as long as you're consistent, it makes people feel safe.
Absolutely.
Because you kind of show up and they can depend on you. I think the best compliment a leader can get is that you're dependable.
Yes.
And so if you're consistent, it shows that you're dependable and people will call upon you. And so what is, you know, we see what's happening in our country across the board, whether it's in churches, whether it's in our society, whether it's in politics, whether it's just in our communities. What is the biggest challenge you think leaders are having today?
Well, the climate is changing. You know, we still try to hold on to some of the business principles that we were taught or that we were able to learn. And so it's just a matter of making sure that, once again, you stay consistent. But because the climate is changing, there's a new workforce that's coming on. You know, everybody's trying to down the millennials, which, of course, is now our largest group. And they come with different challenges, which may rub folks, the traditional people, the wrong way. So you just have to be able to adapt to those challenges with that workforce, because as they come on board, you still want to make sure that they're successful. And so you have to meet them where they are, you know, with whatever challenges that they may have, because you want to make sure that you have some symbiotic influence on them and that everything goes very well. So you have to make sure that, you know, as they come in with challenges, but they do have certain strengths, you just need to make sure that you maximize those and then try to minimize any weaknesses that may come against your business.
Yeah. And so when you look across our community and the work that you're currently doing within our community, what is the one thing that for the villagers or for the school board, from a leadership perspective, what is the one thing you think we need to do differently to maximize all the talents that are in our organization?
Well, everyone comes with strengths, and some folks have challenges. You need to recognize that. You need to look internally within yourself to see what it is that you can bring to the table and what type of things that you need to work on. But I'm very key, especially with the villagers and just working with school board. You have folks of different personalities, different backgrounds, perhaps different biases. But if we can come on one common ground and make sure that we collaborate and always keep the children with school board, keep the children, and with the villagers, keep children first in mind, you can't go wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll shift a little bit. Meek Brown Show focuses on women in leadership.
Yes.
You have 4 daughters.
Yes, I do.
Which is, first, hats off to you.
Thank you, sir.
And you're still looking good.
Thank you, sir. Much prayer.
Yes, of course.
And a great spouse.
So what is the one thing, as a father with 4 young ladies that you're raising, from that perspective, what do you want to make sure you pour into them for leadership?
Well, and I'm seeing it a lot with Morgan and Mary, my 2 oldest ones, and even with Cameron. They are showing leadership qualities now, and I always want to make sure, and my wife and I want to make sure that we model the behavior that we want them to not only see, we want them to see who they can become. Yes. And, they now are allowed to make some of those mistakes as teenagers, and so we can try to provide guidance and correction. And sometimes there's friction because they are teenagers. Yes. They're supposed to challenge us. And so that is also a leadership quality, but we also want to make sure that they respect authority, that they treat their fellow man with kindness and with respect. And believe it or not, they're actually showing some of those qualities, and some of their peers are following them. But we tell them also that with that leadership also comes a lot of responsibility, because people are going to follow. And we also want to make sure that they have a servant leadership mentality. Leaders do serve, and in the best way, the best example is Jesus Christ and how he served his people. And so I also applaud these young ladies, especially if they have challenges that are going to be there, some traditional, ceiling mentality. I don't want them to have that mentality. Instead of bridging the gap, I want them to eliminate the gap.
Okay. And so for anyone going into leadership, what are some things that you would like to share with them, new into leadership, figuring it out, and the airplane's already in the air? What are some things you would share with a new leader in position?
Well, especially for our new aspiring leaders, I would like to share that what they need to do is make sure they know the knowledge, have the knowledge base of whatever area they want to go in. They need to study their craft, and part of doing that is to make sure that they surround themselves with people who are positive, surround themselves with the type of content that they need to have. They need to become competent and confident in who they are and what they do, and have that sense of purpose and well-being. And then they need to make sure that they find a mentor, even if they have to track that person down in their industry and say, listen, you are going to be my mentor because I want to be better. I want to be who you are. Now, they still need to chart their own way, but there's nothing wrong with having that guidance. At the same time, they need to make sure that their circle is complete, make sure that they don't have any negative folks that will try to bring them down, that may be the naysayers. Even if it's family or friends, they need to make sure that they reject that mentality and that mindset, because they want to make sure that they're always pushing forward. And also understand that there are going to be challenges, they're going to be knocked down. They need to make sure that they always come back up. As Les Brown says, when you fall down, always fall on your back, because at least you're looking up. Yes, and so I always encourage folks to make sure that they do that. So when they're aspiring and trying to figure out their way, just make sure you find these mentors, and find at least two mentors. One that's in your industry, who has already walked that path for you, but also someone outside of the industry that can give you a different perspective that's still in business, though. Always make sure you have a spiritual advisor. And I would say, if you feel it's necessary, get a business coach, someone who knows the terrain, that knows how to make sure that you set goals and write them down and figure out the pathway to get to those goals, and then bust those goals and create new ones. And lastly, always dream, and then dream big, because that is what's going to carry the day.
Yes. And I think you said a lot of things that are real nuggets. So if you're paying attention to what we're talking about leadership here today, with Mr. James Shadd, who's doing a wonderful job in our community. And so as you look at yourself, what do you constantly do, Shadd, for you to make sure you're growing in leadership?
Well, every single morning I start out with gratitude. I always thank the Father for everything that he has done, he's going to do. And I like to speak things into existence. So I'm always preparing myself and saying, this is going to happen. And I always try to follow the path that he gives me that's according to his will. And then I try to meditate. I want to hear from him and find out what it is that he has to tell me. Sometimes just going through breathing exercises gets me ready for the day. And then I look over my goals. I write down my goals at the beginning of the week, and I always try to look back at those goals to see where I'm at and just make it small goals. You know, you can't eat an elephant, but you can only eat it one bite at a time. Yes. So take it in bite-sized pieces, because it can be overwhelming when you're trying to reach certain what appears to be lofty goals, and then you must remain resolute. And so always, once again, make sure that you're positive all throughout the day. Walk with a smile. Make sure you look presentable. And it actually helps other people out. And it ends up, you get it back in return, and it makes you feel good, because there are going to be dark days. You know, the measure of a person is what they do when people are not looking. And so you always have to make sure that you stay stay steadfast to your principles, and you can get through each day. And then at the end of the day, you show gratitude again, and you make sure that you're in much prayer. And then you always look back over and see what was your day like. And I'm getting to the point now where you have to teach your subconscious in the evening, just to remind yourself of who you are and kind of feed your mind so that it can manifest itself the next morning. And then you start the day all over again.
Yeah. And we're here with Mr. Shad once again. And the things that you've shared with us are really great nuggets for going forward. You know, you have an accomplished law firm. You just celebrated 10 years of being in business.
Yes, thank you.
You know, you're on the school board, so you're doing things for the kids. You know, you're starting a villager program. But I found you to be very accessible, and you're really out there living what you're saying. And so for those people that are watching, that are paying attention to this, leadership is the start and finish of everything.
Yes.
And so, you know, you mentioned a business coach, which is what I do. You know, and so I get the opportunity to work with you and other business owners about how do you be very intentional about growing yourself? How do you stay consistent about what it is that you want to see? And so throughout our community, is there anything, as we begin to kind of come to a close in this particular segment, is there anything that you would like to share with the audience and the people that are paying attention to what we're talking about today?
Well, I'm very grateful for having you as my coach, Ron. You've taken me to higher heights, and I'm always setting new goals. And what I like about it is that you hold me accountable, but you aren't harsh with it. You know, you'll just check in with me every once in a while, which is what I need, because you may think you have it all, or you may feel like things are just not going, you know, like you really want to, but then you have that friend, and we are friends who can, you know, kind of hold you accountable, kind of pull you to the side, but in a positive manner. And so I would encourage people to, you know, definitely find that friend, find that accountability partner, so that you can have someone that can pour into you, because our vessel will be diminished, and it has to be built back up. And you need to always make sure that's done in a positive manner, not the negative stuff, substance abuse or what have you, because you're not going to find that dream at the end of that bottle. You have to have other people who are like-minded that are going to support you, as well as you support them, because what you give out will come back to you. James Shad of the Shad Law Firm, 810 Dutch Square Boulevard, Suite 450, Columbia, South Carolina, 29210. The email address is shadlawfirmllc@bellsouth.net. And the web address is shadlawsc.com. 803-546-5875 is my cell.
And I appreciate it. For everyone that's watching, we look forward to being able to be a part of what you do and help change things for you. Again, we're with the Meek Brown Show with the segment of The Many Faces of Leadership. And today we have Mr. James Shad with the Shad Law Firm. And of course, I'm Ron Harvey, the coach's coach with Global Coach Strategies and Consulting. Please join us and see us next Thursday on Many Faces of Leadership on the Meek Brown Show. Thank you.
I've enjoyed my show today, like I always do.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for being on here again. And until next time, same place next Thursday at 9 p.m. Have a very sweet Meek week. If you'd like to be featured on the Meek Brown Show, you may email us at meekbrown@themeekbrownshow.info. Again, that's Meek Brown at themeekbrownshow.info, and our phone number is area code 404-667-5073. It has been a great segment, and we hope you've embraced it as much as we've enjoyed recording it. Have a great day.